Today I'm going to show you how I use the Brainworx limiter. It's the XL version 2. So let's dive into the computer. I'll show you my top tips on how I use it. So here we are inside the Brainworx BX XL version 2. So this is a kind of multi-band limiter in a way. It's split into three sections where you've got the low mids, the high mids, and the sides. So Brainworx seem to be obsessed with MS EQ and MS plugins, where they're splitting the mid information, which is the stuff that happens in the middle, or the mono information, and the stereo information, or some of the, so it's the stuff on the outside. So here on you have a crossover point here for these low and high frequencies. So they're splitting the mid section into high and low. The reason for this is because sometimes when you push into a limiter, the bass can take up a lot of the space of the sound. So what you want to do sometimes is readjust the low end so that it's not overpowering the limiter. That means you'll be able to get it louder in the top end and control the low end a little bit more. So here you can actually track dependent, select whereabouts the crossover happens, which obviously anywhere above at the moment, say that's at 100, anything above happens around with this section here, and anything below happens here. Then you have a mono maker at the bottom so that you can make the you can basically take away anything from the sides underneath this 58 or whatever you have it here. So if you are using a mono maker, I tend to use it mainly in the subs. I don't go a lot higher because what happens is around the sort of low mids is where you get a lot of power in a track, and also vocals, low ends of snares, things like that. So as you start going up here, say 200, 300s, what's going to happen is you're going to start losing some of that weight, and it's going to start thinning the track out a little bit too much if there's a lot of stereo information going on. So yeah, just that's what that section there's for. How I'm using this, I'm not going to go through a demo of everything on it because there's no point, because there's plenty of demos of it online. But the way I've used it when I've needed to use it is this saturation here, this XL section is pretty nice for using across different sections to kind of thicken them up. It uses some of the harmonics in there, so you can then just listen and sort of thicken up the mids, the sort of mid stuff going on. So you can kind of thicken up that lower stuff I was talking about in the low mids, and then treat the bottom subby stuff a little bit differently. So I use it as a tool like that more than anything. You can use it for a bit of stereo width on this side here. You can add a little bit of level to the sides so that you can bring the sides out and make things a lot wider. So you can mono it up, you can then bring the sides out a bit here, and obviously if you're adding gain to the side channel here, that's going to have the same effect as this width, where it's just going to make it sound louder. I've got these attached, so as I'm going up with the gain, it's going to go down with the threshold. The thing that I find is that if I start limiting the low end too much, you get a lot of distortion. So really it's about kind of maybe keeping the bass the same, but then upping the gain of the higher stuff so that you're kind of not really compressing the bass, compressing the bass down with the limiter too much, because it will distort and won't be as snappy. But it gives you the ability to then bring the higher stuff up, add a little bit of saturation, which then thickens it up a little bit, and then you can do your normal limiting. So sometimes I'll use this before I'm a big fan of the FabFilter Pro L. Sometimes I'll use this before that, just to do what I've just shown you, where I might just use it for some harmonics, or I may use it just to sort of rebalance the track. A lot of the times though, I have actually done that rebalancing before I get to my limiters, so there's not a lot of need to use it. But if you just need it for a little trick, get you out of jail with a bad mix, just to sort of move the mix around, punch the mix about a bit, then it's really good for that. So yeah, it's got quite a few good features. Sound wise, it sounds really good. I like the sound of it. Can start sounding a little bit thin if you start ripping too much of the low end out, obviously, but it's not super hard sounding. It's pretty good. I can't get it as loud as a lot of limiters, which is why I use it as a kind of secondary limiter, rather than, I wouldn't use it as an all-in-one, like as in my only limiter. So yeah, that's how I use the Brainworx BX XL version 2. So that's how I'm using the Brainworx limiter. Let me know in the comments how you're using it, what I've missed, and if I'm missing out on something that you've found, a little top secret. So yeah, let me know in the comments. Until next time, thanks for watching. Goodbye.